Namaskar. Welcome to the session on food technology. We will be discussing on treatment methods related to liquid waste management. Water is a universal solvent, but a cruel teacher. As the old saying goes, water in the pure form is a good solvent, but given an opportunity carries several factors responsible for disease in human being. Industrial effluents in general are known to contain several pathogens and hazardous chemicals used in different processes. Another group of impurities that is typical of major significance in wastewater is the plant nutrients. Specifically, these are compounds of nitrogen and phosphorus, and pathogens in the wastewater is expected to be proportional to the concentration of fecal coliform bacteria. For example, the coliform concentration in raw sanitary sewage is roughly 1 billion per liter. Liquid waste is also characterized based on biological oxygen demand and the total amount of suspended solids. On the average, untreated domestic sanitary sewage has a BOD of about 200 mg per liter and a TSS of about 240 mg per liter. Industrial wastewater may have BOD and TSS values much higher than those for sanitary sewage. Its composition is source dependent. When considering the literature dealing with food wastewaters, it is clear that the quantity and quality of wastewaters produced in the food industry vary considerably from process to process. In general, processing of food from raw materials requires large volumes of high grade water, which then generate large amount of wastewater. The liquid waste treatment generally involves reducing or removal of all the said contaminants. This episode deals with different types of liquid waste treatment with special reference to food industry. The following topics are highlighted. Let us go one by one. The first topic, the sources of liquid waste in food industry. Different sources contribute to the generation of wastewater in food processing industries. Wastewaters released from these industries are turbid with high concentrations of BOD, fats, oils and grease, suspended solids, and usually nitrogen and phosphorus. Hazardous chemical content is generally low. Other characteristics of food processing wastewater are there is large seasonal variation and also large hourly variation and concentration in daytime. Factories are often of small scale, sometimes unbalanced ratio of BOD, nitrogen and phosphorus that induces the bulking of sludge and the last the colored effluent. Before discharging wastewater back into the environment and the natural hydrological cycle, it is necessary to provide some degree of treatment in order to protect public health and the environmental quality. Composition of the wastewater and selection of appropriate treatment methods is the second topic we are going to understand today. Wastewater is mainly comprised of 99.9% of water together with relatively small concentration of suspended and dissolved organic and inorganic solids. Among the organic substances present in sewage are carbohydrates, lignin, fats, soaps, synthetic detergents, proteins and their decomposition products. Wastewater has characteristic changes in several of its parameters such as pH and temperature and other parameters including obstructing components such as glass shards, plastic parts, sand, etc. It also varies in solids such as total solids, suspended solids, and suspended solids are characterized based on its size of 0.45 micrometer, and there is also filterable solids and settleable solids, and along with this varied organic substances contributing to increased BOD and COD, and it also contains the nutrient salts like nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, and it is very important to see here is that they are responsible for the process of eutrophication. and even hazardous substances are also can be reported. Say for example, absorbable organic halogen compounds, chlorinated hydrocarbons and halogenated hydrocarbons, hydrocarbons like benzene, phenol and other derivatives, and it also may contain heavy metals, in particular mercury, cadmium, chromium, copper, nickel and zinc, etc. While subjecting the wastewater for treatment process, the COD to BOD ratio is an important value in determining the biodegradability of the pollutants in a particular wastewater. If the ratio is less than 2, the load is considered to be easily biodegradable. Water consumption is a major concern of the food industry, as all the industries are depending on the water for its cleaning and other purpose. Even the food industry is known to generate the large volume of the waste in terms of liquid. Apart from its frequent use as an ingredient, most of it ends up in the wastewater stream. It is important to adjust the wastewater treatment plant's operation according to the specific characteristics of the raw inlet stream, and also to optimize the wastewater treatment plant sludge treatment, disposal and disposal methods. Wastewater pollution levels depends on kind of raw material being processed. On the plant technology and the amount of wastewater generated is also an important factor, as concentration of pollutants is inversely proportional to it. The general characteristic of the wastewater generated from different food industries are as follows. Say for example, in the meat and poultry industry, the major characteristics of the wastewater generated from slaughterhouse and poultry processing will have high organic load, and it may go up to 8,000 milligram per liter BOD. And it is also having high concentration of oils and grease, salt, nitrogen and phosphorus with suspended solids at 800 milligram per liter or more than that. In the processing of fruit and vegetables, wastewater is generated in large quantities, mainly by cleaning, but there may be other sources of pollution depending on the process. Typically, wastewater is high in suspended solids, sugars and starches, often with additional pollutants like brains or acids. The dairy sector is a large producer of wastewater, which is caused by the amount of milk being processed. Unlike other sectors, relatively reliable data on wastewater composition do exist. Besides, high levels of BOD, milk, nitrogen, phosphorus and chloride are also present. Other properties of the wastewater such as pH and temperature are highly subjected to variation. What are the treatment methods to come out of this problem? The variability of these wastewaters obviously affects the choice of sequence of processes for wastewater treatment. In order to design the correct treatment process, it is imperative that a truly representative sample of the stream effluent is obtained for characterization. Not only may samples be required for 24-hour effluent loads, but it is necessary that peak load concentrations, the duration of the peak loads and the occurrence of the variation throughout the day are determined. It is necessary to remove plant nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus, and also disinfect with chlorine to destroy most pathogens and to help to prevent the transmission of communicable disease from wastewater. Considering this in general, the wastewater treatment methods are grouped into three general categories. So, what are they? The first one is the primary treatment, which involves the screening method, grit removal and sedimentation, which is also called as settling. The second one, the secondary or biological treatment, which includes the biological processes and additional settling process. The third one is called as tertiary or advanced treatment, which includes microfiltration, ultrafiltration, reverse osmosis and other major advanced improvements that are seen in liquid waste treatment process. So, let us understand what is the primary treatment altogether. These generally consist of a screening step, which may be double and eventually grit removal. The screens used could be vibrating, rotary or static. Usually the screens used have from 10 millimeter to 1 millimeter openings. Materials of small size can be removed by high speed circular vibratory polishing screens. Screening system may be used in combination to maximize the efficiency of the process. Efficiency of these systems are variable. say for example rotary drum, and this show removal percentages up to 40 to 50% for suspended solids. So, the second one being the flow equalization. The following the screening process and preceding the unit for suspended solids removal is a flow equalization step. Flow equalization is important in reducing hydraulic and organic loading in the biological process. Equalization facilities consist of a holding tank and pumping equipment designed to reduce the fluctuations of the waste streams. The equalizing tank will store excessive hydraulic flow and stabilize the flow rate to a uniform discharge rate over a 24-hour day. pH adjustment. A pH adjustment is carried out after preliminary treatments in order to obtain a wastewater much more suitable for the biological processes following general in neutral range. The secondary treatment, which is generally called as biological treatment process, which includes aerobic and anaerobic degradation of the waste in the liquid. In several countries, most of the food processing plants deliver their wastewater to municipal systems after primary treatment. But in some cases, the wastewaters may pass through a secondary biological, which includes aerobic and anaerobic treatment process. In fact, to complete the treatment of the food processing wastewaters, the waste stream must be further processed by the biological means. After adequate primary treatment, frequently used biological treatment systems includes anaerobic processes, extended aeration, aerated lagoons, trickling filters, and land application. Recently, some new highly effective processes such as membrane bioreactors and jet loop reactors have come into operation. Food processing wastewaters are particularly suitable for anaerobic processes. Firstly, because of their high organic load, and secondly, because they rarely contain toxicants or inhibitory compounds. Indeed, excluding equipment cleaning operations for which chemicals and disinfectants are normally used. All the sources of wastewater are related to the preparation and processing of animal and vegetable derived raw material. The wastewater characteristics are therefore mainly dependent on the nature of the organic matter processed. The upflow anaerobic sludge blanket, generally represented as UASP system, has become the most widely applied reactor technology for high rate anaerobic treatment of industrial effluents. The main reason for the success of the UASB is its relatively high treatment capacity, that is up to 10 kg COD per meter cube per day, compared with the other biological systems which permits the employment of compact and economic wastewater treatment plants. In addition, anaerobic processes enable biogas production, which associated energy recovery, and are also characterized by low sludge production. Typical yields are less than 0.1 kg volatile solids per kilogram of COD removed. In an activated sludge treatment system, an acclimatized, mixed biological growth of microorganisms is brought into contact with organic material in the wastewater in the presence of excess dissolved oxygen and nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus. The microorganism convert the soluble organic compounds to carbon dioxide and cellular material, that is new biomass. Oxygen is obtained from applied air, which also maintains adequate mixing. The bioreactor effluent is settled to separate biological sludge, and a portion of the sludge is recycled. The excess is sent for further treatment such as dewatering. Activated sludge systems utilized in the food processing industry are extended aeration types, that is, they combine long aeration times with low applied organic loads. Aerated lagoon system is another treatment plant employed in the liquid waste treatment, which is generally used where there is not sufficient land available for seasonal retention or land application, and economics do not justify an anaerobic or activated sludge system. Efficient biological treatment can be achieved by use of aerated lagoon system. Air is applied to these ponds by fixed or floating mechanical aerators or by compressors through air diffusers located on the bottom of the pond between 2.5 and 5 meter depth. Operating with 2 to 10 days retention time facilitates a reduction of BOD of 55 to 90%. The stabilization and pond treatment. A common practice for improving the effluent treated in the aerated lagoon is the use of stabilization or polishing pond system. This system depends on the action of aerobic bacteria on the soluble organics contained in the waste streams. The organic carbon is converted to carbon dioxide and bacterial cells. Algal growth is stimulated by the incident sunlight, which penetrates to the depth of 1 to 1.5 meter. Photosynthesis results in the production of excess oxygen, which is available to the aerobic bacteria. Additional oxygen is provided by mass transfer at the air-water interface. The ponds are designed to provide a residence time of 2 to 20 days with surface loading of 5.5 to 22 gram BOD per day per square meter. Trickling filters utilizing plastic media in columns of 4.5 to 6 meter high have been used in the treatment of high strength fruit and vegetable wastewaters, which are having 3000 to 4000 milligram liter BOD. High liquid circulation rates and forced air circulation are used to achieve BOD removal up to 90%. However, these processes tend to fail with the high organic load rates that are typical of some food processing wastewaters, as for example in the cheese industry. After the biological step, treated water can be further polished by means of specific tertiary treatments such as the use of membranes, for example microfiltration, ultrafiltration and reverse osmosis, or other chemical physical processes such as activated carbon, precipitation, chelation for the removal of specific pollutants and to further improve water characteristics. The last process is land disposal of wastewaters. The following methods are used for land application. The one is irrigation, surface ponding, groundwater recharge by injection wells, subsurface percolation, and here in case of irrigation, which is a treatment process that consists of a number of steps. One is the aerobic bacterial degradation of the deposited suspended materials, evaporation of the water and concentration of soluble salts are observed in irrigation. And another important observation is filtration of small particles through the soil cover and biological degradation of entrapped organics in the soil by aerobic and anaerobic bacteria is also observed. Adsorption of organics in the soil particles and uptake of nitrogen and phosphorus by plants and soil microorganisms is another additional benefit. And another one is the uptake of liquid wastes and transpiration by plants. Percolation of water to groundwater is also contributed in the irrigation process. So, treatment methods employed in different industries is the last topic of today's session. The one important industry is the starch factory, where the wastewater from starch factories have high organic load and usually consist of easily degradable matter. The undissolved organic contents are mainly carbohydrates and proteins. The fat content is normally 10%. Usually, this kind of wastewater does not contain any toxic substances. The substrate ratio COD to nitrogen and phosphorus is satisfactory. Actually, these may even occur an excess of nitrogen and phosphorus, so that it is not necessary to add nutrient salts. The following processes are used for treatment of starch factory wastewater. First one is the soil treatment, pond processing, small scale technical processes as we have already discussed, aerobic, anaerobic and evaporation methods. In case of potato processing industry, wastewater treatment systems often consist of the following sections. The first one, the grid chamber, screening system, settling tanks for purification of the flume and washing water recirculation. The second one, production integrated, which is screening systems and separators to recover organic solids that have been separated from the production wastewater and dewatered, to recycle valuable substances, say for example cattle forage. The third one, the fat separators for wastewater containing fat when deep fat fryers are used in the production process. And it also includes the biological treatment for pre-treatment and full treatment. In case of sugar factory, for the treatment of sugar factory wastewater, the following processes are common. The first method being the soil treatment, the long-term batch processing, the small-scale technical processes usually consisting of anaerobic, pre-treatment and aerobic secondary treatment. In case of slaughterhouses, the primary wastewater and waste product sources are divided into three production areas. The one being the truck, washing and animal sheds, slaughters and cutting. Third one, stomach, intestine and entrails cleaning. The latter, however, are often not done on the slaughterhouse grounds. The following biological methods have been employed until now successfully on an industrial scale. The first one is the large space biological methods, say for example oxidation ponds, various activated sludge system like single stage, cascade, two stage, etc. Anaerobic biological methods are also employed. The conclusion of the present topic is the wise decision in removing 0.1% of waste from 99.9% of water in the wastewater has several benefits in terms of its reuse and environmental pollution. The appropriate methods need to be employed targeting the specific group of waste generally observed in an industry so that the treatment method is economically viable.